Hello, everyone. So, a while back, you may have gotten an email or two from us about an important change that Salesforce would be enforcing for the Winter 22 release regarding MyDomain. MyDomain was required in all Salesforce orgs starting in August 2021 for sandboxes and October 2021 for production orgs. You may be in luck if your org is relatively new, since from Winter 2021 onwards, all production and dev edition orgs get MyDomain set up by default. However, if you have an older org and you did not take care of the recommended pre-release steps before the enforcement last October, then your URL was changed without your input by Salesforce. You may or may not have noticed a few things in your org not working quite right after that if you had any hardcode URLs in any of your processes. You may have also noticed that your unique domain URL when working in your org now contains random characters but don't know why or how to change it. We're going to fix that for you. Perhaps you're just now getting back to Salesforce after a busy holiday season, the insanity of end-of-year closing processes, or a sad, rip-and-wrap case of COVID that started off the new year with a kick to your immune system. If it's the latter, I was right there with you and hope you've recovered well. Now, getting back to MyDomain, what is it and why the heck should it matter to me or you if our orgs are fine despite inaction? Well, friends, let's get into it because it does matter. The MyDomain name is used as your org-specific subdomain in Salesforce login and application URLs, which is completely different from your org instance URL. With no instance names, enhanced MyDomain URLs are actually easier for users to remember and remain stabilized when your org is moved to another Salesforce instance. With MyDomain, you can highlight your business identity with your unique domain URL, brand your login page, and customize content on the right side of the login page to give your users a better experience, and block or redirect page requests that don't use your MyDomain name. Having a MyDomain, however, isn't just about convenience and branding your org's login experience, which is nice, but also about having more control over your login process and simplifying authentication, a new way to ensure your user safety even further. Salesforce takes safety very seriously and requires you to have a MyDomain in place to work in multiple Salesforce orgs in the same browser, set up single sign-on with external identity vendors, something that may have come into play for you with the most recent release requiring multi-factor authentication. Use Lightning components in Lightning component tabs, Lightning page, the Lightning app builder, or standalone apps, and also to use Financial Services Cloud, Health Cloud, or Works.com. Now that you know the basics of what it is and what it does, let's explore how you can utilize it to your company's advantage for great login experience and company branding purposes. We'll use one of my dev orgs for this short demo. Starting on your home page when you log in, you'll want to go to Setup. And in the quick find search bar, type in MyDomain. We'll bring it right up. So you can see that my domain name for this dev org is Empathetic Narwhal, followed by a random bunch of characters, and this is my dev edition org. So we are going to edit the MyDomain details, and you know what? I'm not really feeling an empathetic narwhal. I want a majestic. Looks like that's going to be too long. But I do want a majestic narwhal, so I'm going to get rid of the characters I need to get rid of to make that fit. Yes. And I'll check the availability. Unsurprisingly, it is available. So then I would press save, and it'll tell me that it is provisioning. And once it is complete, I will actually have to deploy the new one to put it in effect. Provisioning can take anywhere from a few minutes, which is typical, or up to 24 hours. And afterwards, you can deploy it. So Here I would press OK. I'm not actually going to do this because I've already provisioned it in a different dev org for you, so you don't have to wait those few minutes. So once your domain has been provisioned, you will see this, which is keep current domain. If you've decided, you know what, I'm fine with all those random characters and everything's great, you don't have to deploy a new one. However, in this one, I wanted a Brave Panda instead of Resilient Panda, so I'm going to deploy my new domain. And as always, we recommend that you do this in Sandbox first, so you can see how it will interact with your org before revising anything in production. All right. It's going to have me log in. My new one was deployed. I didn't make any actual setting changes, so that's why it looked the same as usual. However, going back to my domain, we're going to address the sections underneath my domain details, beginning with, we're going to ignore routing for now, policies. So click edit. We want to make sure that any users see only this new URL, even when using Lightning apps, which tend to default to a URL that displays your instance, where it's like NA187 or whatever your instance number is. First, you have the option to require users to log in using your MyDomain login page. We're actually going to leave this unchecked because we still want users to be able to log in from login.salesforce.com. This is especially important for those with chatter groups containing users outside of the company. If this box is checked, they will be redirected to an identity provider that they actually can't access. So they will lose access to your shared chatter group. Next, we'll take a look at the redirect policy. Until you have informed your team of this change and they've had the chance to revise their bookmarks, I would suggest going with the middle option, which is to redirect with a warning to the same page within the domain. This option gives users a bit of a grace period to transition to your org's new MyDomain URL. So now when users attempt to access your org using an old URL containing your instance name or your old MyDomain name, they will receive a message encouraging them to update their bookmarks. After a few days, or maybe even a week, everyone should have updated their bookmarks and you can send out final emails or message, however you're going to make that announcements, stating that their old links will no longer work before switching to the recommended setting, which is don't redirect. And then press save. Now, when you rename your MyDomain, which is what you'll be doing at this point, since Salesforce created one for you, if you didn't take action last fall, whether you wanted it or not, requests sent to your old MyDomain are automatically redirected to your new one. So this is actually, the whole bookmarks thing is more for people that didn't notice that MyDomain was a thing. And they've been wondering why their bookmarks aren't working quite right. That's why. And they should make sure that everything is updated so everything can be business as usual for them. The MyDomain redirect policy we just used does not affect that. The redirecting of links of your old MyDomain to your new MyDomain. If you don't want requests to your previous MyDomain to be redirected for some reason, you will need to completely remove your previous MyDomain, which you can do by going to this section we skipped over before, routing, and click edit. And you can see that this is checked to redirect previous MyDomain URLs to your current MyDomain. And you can actually just click remove. It will ask you if you are sure. And if you would like to first test this change, just in case it will affect your users, you can deselect this checkbox, just uncheck it, where it says redirect previous MyDomain URLs to your current MyDomain. But if you're sure, just press OK and it'll remove your old MyDomain URL. So to be thorough, We will also use the Lightning Experience Configuration Converter tool, which looks like this. Here is the URL up here, lightning-configuration.salesforce.com. To scan items such as hard-coded URLs, actions and buttons, Visualforce pages, app exchange packages, just anything that may have possibly been affected by the transition to MyDomain. If anything was broken, this tool will point you in the right direction to make sure your org is still running smoothly. So it's quite easy to use. You can just have it scanned, it'll email you when everything's done, and you can also just keep an eye on the scan in progress. However, please don't try to use to scan all of them at once. It won't work. And while that's happening, we'll go back here. And now that we've handled the more technical side of MyDomain, let's have some fun with customizing your login page. Branding your login page helps your users recognize they're in the right place, even without having to look at the URL. And you can add your company name and or logo. You can change the background color of the login page. You can also replace the right side of the login page with your own picture or message, or go crazy and do all the above. This can be super useful for making company-wide announcements that you want users to see as they log in as well. And honestly, it's just fun to make it a little different and a little less boring. And you can change it up, whenever you want, seasonally, whatever. So in order to do that, we'll scroll down to the bottom where it says Authentication Configuration. Press Edit. We're not really going to touch any of this up here, but we can choose a logo file. Just make sure that it is either in a JPEG, GIF, or PNG file, up to 100 kilobytes, or a maximum image size of 250 by 125 pixels, which is pretty small. In fact, the company logo I currently have on my laptop won't fit in here, so I'm not actually going to update that. You can change the background color. You can use a color picker, or if you know, say your company has a media kit and you know the exact hex number that you need, you can just enter that as well. You know what? I want to make it lavender. I'm a big fan of purple. And you can also, beyond the background and adding your logo, you can also update the right side of the login page. You'll need to type in the URL of a file hosted using SSL encryption within https://prefix. We're going to use a stock photo for this one. Is actually the one that Salesforce recommends you use. And we're gonna leave everything else alone. So if you did want to create some sort of image with a message, it would need to be hosted as a URL. You can't just copy and paste HTML into this. It needs to be in a URL format with this prefix. So anyways, we're done here, so we're going to press save. And then we can log out of Brave Panda. And you can see that everything has changed. So I have this purple background now. I have this, I guess, coffee stock photo, which is different than my usual. I'm not sure I like it personally, but I'm sure whatever you decide to do with your company's login page will be awesome. Thanks for watching today. If you found this video helpful, please give us a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to our channel for Salesforce-related tips and tricks. Again, we are Cloud Adoption Solutions. Please feel free to reach out to us for any of your Salesforce needs.